Hello, welcome to Sunday Satsang. We have been doing something here on Sundays for a little over 15 years. It was 15 years ago that I moved back to the United States after living in Swami Rama's ashram in Rishikesh in India for quite a number of years, and finally the decision came back. And so we've been doing something on Sundays ever since then, and it comes and goes, local people. But now with this new technology, we get to have more of us together. Here we usually had 5, 10, 15 people together in the living room, sometimes fewer. There were some times in there where we were having outside programs in another group, and we would have sometimes 40, 50 people. In the last 2 weeks, because of this technology that we can do this, we've had over 150 people with us. It's not about numbers, but it's been kind of fun, and I am still getting used to this thing in front of me and engaging in this way. So there's Devi. Hi, Devi. Hello, Matias. And so if you want, type in something in the chat box if you're looking, and I'll see it and respond, and if there's a comment or a question. And so today it's me sitting here, and Matri is here over there. I can't turn this thing easily, but and there's Aranka. Hi, Aranka. Say hello to Aranka, Ma.
Hi, Aranka. She was just texting me. Where is it? Where is it?
She found it.
She found it.
She found it. Here we are, streaming right in the ashram. This doesn't help to tell you because you're here, so you know where we are. We're in the Abhyasa Ashram Satsang page, Facebook group page. But anyway, it's Matri and I and Rojo and Krista are here. Hello, Leela. And hi Ma and Swami J. Aranka says hi. Ivanka is here. Hello, Ivanka. Ivanka is, I've forgotten where you're located. And there's Joe, our new friend from Melbourne, Australia. Vancouver, that's right, I knew that. Sometimes these things slip away from my mind. Anyway, the idea of these is to have some concept of yoga, some principle or practice that we briefly talk about. And so I'm getting encroached on here. Here comes a ma tree. And so there we are. And I'm getting kind of squished on, but that's okay.
You got to sit up taller and go down.
No, you should see her body if you don't know her. The top of her body from sort of the bottom of her spine up is really, really tall.
Really long shishuna.
And from that part down to the bottom of her feet is kind of short.
So, because we used to be equally
So
long.
we're basically the same height, but she's longer at the top, and which has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but it's kind of interesting.
So now it looks...
So you know, so what? That's the point. So now there's 8 people, 8 of you there. See the way this thing works, it tells me the number. There's a little red live up there, and it shows how many people.
I'm playing.
She's playing. There's a feature there that changes the color of something. And there's an Om. Okay. There's an Om. Now can we push clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a way.
Oh, Swamiji, sit still. Sit still.
Don't I need some glasses? I already have glasses.
Yeah, you already have glasses. Wait.
They're giving me hair. Yeah, this is exactly what I had in mind for satsang today.
No, this is
There it is.
No.
What?
Now it's yeah. Oh, last thing.
The last thing.
The last thing. Cocoa Birdie.
There's Cocoa Birdie. Now I have Cocoa Birdie on my shoulder. Can you see that? Are you looking at this on that, Rojo? She's sitting across the room grinning like she's watching this, but she's not.
There's an ohm.
Oh, it has a delay.
There's a delay.
And now there's bird and lines and
That's hair. That's purple hair.
oh.
Oh well.
And
And now I'll demonstrate Saucha.
this is pure. This
There
is
it comes.
This is called purifying the body and mind.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Now turn.
And now I do like this.
And you
Yeah.
turn that off. Is that a Cocoa Birdie? That was a Cocoa Birdie, yeah. It's a pity we cannot say something.
Now it's gone.
Yeah, but this is just the technology that we've got. And, you know, I think last week, not all live, but some looking at this recorded. The way this technology works, as soon as we push the finish button, it records it and then saves it on the page. But I think there were, last time I looked, 180 people had joined us from last week. Joe says this is a very serious. This is very, very serious. Yes,
Very
yeah,
serious.
yes. Joe apparently, Joe is a new friend to all of us, and Joe apparently is quite literate in, and has studied, you know, formal Sanskrit studies for years. So he's kind of keeping us, you know, straight, and that's what we're doing. So thank you for the reminder, Joe. And those are little.
Okay.
Little smiley faces with, I think, hands over eyes. I think they're so small that it's
No,
hard to
they're
see.
tears, so he's laughing.
They're
They're
tears.
so
Those are
laughing, so
tears.
loud.
He's
The nice thing about this anga is that nobody can talk. He has to keep talking. So if we don't distract him too much, all the juice and all the beautiful will come out. I can do like that.
oh no.
I can do like that if you are ugly towards me.
But see, I can come out over the side.
Saucha.
Okay. All right. So
I'll go sit over there.
no, you don't. Well, you can sit. I don't care where you sit. It doesn't matter. Actually, what we were going to talk about today is Saucha. And Saucha is, now we're going to get serious.
Yes.
Saucha, and Krista is over there. Krista lives a couple miles from here and is often over here on Sundays and other times. And came in a few minutes late and you went to the meditation room for a few minutes. Good yogi, good yogi, good yogi.
Hello.
Hello. And so, anyway, Saucha is the first niyama. In the traditional ashtanga yoga, if you haven't looked at it, look at our Udemy course on ashtanga yoga. We worked hard at it, and it turned out pretty good. So
There's a course on ashtanga?
there's a course on ashtanga yoga, traditional ashtanga yoga, not the modern postural yoga, ashtanga yoga. Anyway, so take a look at it.
Is it good?
I think so. You can give it
Who
a
made
rating.
it?
Who made it? Well, I don't know. Some guy was the guy in front of the camera, but the reason it came together was, of course, the producer-director who was behind the camera and doing the editing and all of that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
Lila says hi, Krista.
Leela says hi, Krista. There it is, yes. And it's still a serious talk, Joe.
Yeah.
We're getting serious. Anyway,
Now
Saucha.
if I go sit here.
You can sit there, or
And
you
look
can
at you.
you can come over here. And I'm meaning you're welcome to come and go. Do as you wish.
I was just going to keep an eye on the
But you
chat
can
box
talk
for you.
from there.
Yeah.
You can keep an eye on. She's going to keep an eye on the chat box, because sometimes when you type something in the comments box, it shows up on her laptop before it shows up here or sometimes we've noticed the little bit that we've been doing this, sometimes she notices it before me. It's there and I just don't see it. But anyway, ashtanga yoga. Anga means limbs or rungs, like rungs on a ladder or limbs on a tree. And ashta simply means 8. So there are 8 of these angas. And the anga, it's usually described, means either rungs on a ladder or limbs on a tree. The importance or significance, rather, of that is that rungs on a ladder, they're sequential. You do this, then you go to this one, then you go this, and there is a sequence to these things. But at the same time, in this, there's Nicholas. Oh, good. Nicholas is going through the Udemy course. The teacher there looks slightly familiar. Not sure why. Isn't that odd? But you can't in the course you can't see the producer director behind the camera with the whip keeping the speaker talking. You might recognize the producer director as well. Anyway. Is it right that if I put something in the chat box, the sound disappears? No, that should not happen. If it's happening, Aranka, I don't know why that would be happening. And if it keeps happening, let me know, and then we'll know that there's either a glitch in the software or something. But I have not run into that before with this. Anyway, Saucha. This is actually kind of fun to keep having to come back to Saucha. I can hear you well, says Raj. Hi, Raj. Raj is here, Mom.
Oh, yeah, I said that you were online. I said, where are you?
He said, where are you?
I said, where are you?
Uh-huh.
Is online.
So here we are, and she's right over there. And if you haven't noticed it, there's something odd in the technology. I think it's in the Facebook, iPad software, that when I use the camera looking at it this way, it reverses things left and right. When it takes a picture with the other lens going out that way, it does not do it. So, for example, this Yoga Sutras is, I think that as you're watching this, I think this reads backwards for you. And so that mirroring, or whatever it is, it reverses it. So just so you know that, not that it's terribly important, but if I happen to pick something up and you catch it out of the corner of your eye that, wait a minute, something's wrong with that picture, it's because it turns it backwards. Saucha. Saucha is the first niyama. The niyamas is rung 2 of Ashtanga Yoga, and Saucha is the first one of those. Usually, always translated as being purifying of body and mind. It means purifying, but the presumption has been, I guess Vyasa was probably commented on it, early commentator, but it has been widely recognized that this purifying means the purifying of body and mind. Why body and mind? Because if the indweller inside of me is Atman or Purusha or Shakti that's one with Shiva or simply center of consciousness, then, and if that's my true nature, then I am the indweller inside of this body and inside of this mind. Now, most of the time we're so identified with our minds and with our bodies that sounds like an odd comment. But if we look at the highest principle of what yoga is talking about, these are shells. I am wearing a mind and I am wearing a body. So from out here, in my deluded state of thinking that this composite thing here is me, from that standpoint, the Atman is inside. And so, playfully said, one of the reasons we have this special satsang on Sunday is because of the culture of the United States and much of the world, certainly much of the Western world. Sunday becomes a special day. In America, it's the church day. Well, we're not having church in any conventional Christian sense of the word of church, but for a yogi, where is the church? Where is the temple? Where is the mosque? Where is the synagogue? Is it that brick building that's down the street? No. This is the church. This body, this mind in which I, as Atman, am the indweller, the temple in which I, as Atman, dwell, is the body and mind. So it's not that I am a mind, it's not even that I'm an ego, it's not that I am a personality, a persona, coming from the Greek word mask. In the old Greek theater, they used to, one actor would play different roles and would go on the stage wearing one mask and then would go off stage and come back wearing a different mask. And some of the old pictures of those, there's a little stick and you hold the mask in front of you and you're a different character. That's the root of the word personality, because of persona. So I am not my persona. I am not my personality. I'm not my ego, even though we can all go off on an ego trip. And what happens with that? That's because in yogic language, avidya, we have simply forgotten that I am the indweller in this temple. I am not the bricks and mortar of the temple. So on Sunday, what do? We come together and we have church. And so here we're just simply acknowledging that in the culture, it's common to do something on Sunday. So Sunday morning always seems like a fun time to come together and informally just have conversation and satsang. And sometimes after we have satsang in the morning, we run off to Starbucks and have Starbucks satsang, a few of us. I don't know if we'll do that today. Matri is making us dosas today, so we're going to have a really special dosa lunch. Hi, Raymond. Ray, you're a little bit late, but that's okay. Nice to see you. We're talking about Saucha, which is the first niyama, and the niyamas. Now I'm on and I can type in the chat box and still hear. On the iPad, it was not possible. That's very strange, Aranka. But thank you for telling me. That's nice to know. Now you're on the Mac. I guess mean laptop or Big Mac, or we call it the Big Mac. We have the iMac. The iMac that we have, we call it the Big Mac. And so there's Big Macs and Little Macs. Anyway, Saucha. I was talking about Saucha. It's purifying the body and mind. So this comment, I want to suggest to you that there is no checklist, there is no bullet-pointed checklist of what are the elements that I must do to purify my body, what are the elements that I must do to purify my mind. The introduction of Saucha as the first niyama, which is the second rung of the 8 rungs, is sort of all-pervasive. It's more like an attitude than a checklist of practices. And so it means developing an attitude that I am going to keep my temple clean. If I am the indweller of the temple, if I am Atman, I am Purusha, the language of Patanjali, he says, Tadadrastu svarupayavasnam, then the drashtu, the seer, rests in its true nature. I love that word, that choice of words personally, because he artfully there does not define it as being, it is called Atman, and then it begs the question, well, what the hell's an Atman? And so you just get lost in word soup defining things. And he says basically, simply, when you do Nirodha, when you set aside everything that you are not, what's left is who you are. And that's why we call it self-realization, not self-attainment. Does that Big Mac come with French fries? No, no French fries. But we have had some really delicious mashed potatoes whipped up in a thing there, you know, with little beater things, and that's pretty yummy. So it's a Big Mac with mashed potatoes, not French fries, because we don't cook with oil, Nicholas. And that's a part. Fine choice of comments you made there, Nicholas, because that is an aspect of Saucha in relation to the body, is what kind of food do we eat. So question, what are the ways in which if if it's true what I'm suggesting, that Saucha has to do with an attitude, not a checklist of to-do, then what else can we do to purify the body? Food is one of them. There are many, 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 many food choices that we all live. And one day it may seem like there's nothing wrong with French fries. Those are potatoes, and potatoes are a vegetable, and vegetables are healthy, so I'm having my potatoes. But then you remember that's rojo with greens. Say hi, Rojo.
Hi, Rojo. Hi.
And so, anyway, what are some other things that you can do to purify the body? Food. Food is very, very... Huh?
Exercise, good sleep.
Exercise.
All the 4 primitive fountains.
4 primitive fountains. Food,
Bathing.
sleep, sex, and self-preservation. What? Bathing?
Yes.
You're remembering to take a shower?
Yes.
Did you remember that today?
Oh. I'm cleansing internally, not externally.
She's cleansing internally with her greens. Actually, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's true. She's cleansing internally with her greens that she's got here. And so this is consistent with what I'm trying to suggest to you, is that it is extremely useful to remember Saucha as being a foundation principle of what we are trying to do to clean our temple. What's the temple consist of primarily? One level of the temple is the walls called body, and the next inner level of the temple is the mind. So there's a body and mind. And so this, we memorize this, we internalize it, we remember that if I'm going to sit down and have a nice meditation, meditation is rung 7. If I'm going to sit down and have a nice meditation, I better keep my temple clean. What does that mean? I mean that I need to do something with my body and with my mind to make sure that they're both clean and operating well.
And not constipated.
And food, sleep, sex, and self-preservation. So food is very, very important. And we don't need to get on a preacher's pulpit and try to tell everybody, you know, I know, I was just kidding. I don't use to eat fried food. Instead, use oven with little oil. As though there's a good example. Right now, Nicholas is using little oil, and that's okay. But we have eliminated oil here. I've come to realize over the last year that the oil that I was eating was having a very damaging effect on my cardiovascular system. I'm an old guy, and so, you know, in terms of body, the body is aging. And so the effect of a lifetime worth of using any oil at all accumulates and causes a problem. So it comes a point where you say, wait a minute, I should not have been using this oil for the last 60 years. But I was born and raised into oil consumption habits. That's just the way the life was, and I think the researchers did not know the effects of oils. And now the researchers say, at least applying this to the West, that anybody in America, and probably now the rest of the world that has adopted our stupid standards of eating, that anybody who's 10 years old or older already has damage to their coronary arteries. Am I right about that, Rojo?
Yep.
Yep. She keeps track of all this research and helps me learn about it. So the damage is there, but we don't know. And so the principle of Saucha in relation to body and food is not something you do once and you, okay, check that off the list. I have that done. Now I've done it. We just keep learning and keep learning and keep learning and keep learning. And your mentioning oil is, Nicholas, is a good example of that. So for myself, this was something I thought olive oil was healthy, just like most of the rest of the people I knew. Olive oil is healthy. No, it's not. And so is that Saucha? Yes, it's part of Saucha, but you know, even old dogs like me can learn new tricks. We can learn that what we thought was one thing was before. Yeah, there's another one, Joe. Ghee is good. this is widely proclaimed that ghee is good. Much, if not most, of India eats ghee and claims that it's healthy. Interesting little question. I have not seen any research yet specifically on the Indian consumption of ghee, but isn't it fascinating that India has one of the highest rates of heart attacks in the world, and yet they're running around proclaiming that ghee is good because Ayurveda says eat ghee. Well, who knows the quantity that they were eating, and maybe while there was great wisdom over these past millennia, maybe there's great wisdom, but it may be a shock to, it may be sacrilegious of me to say this, but maybe, just maybe, they were wrong. Maybe they were just wrong. I know a man who is a Harvard University trained cardiologist, and made the observation that the workers, the lowest level laborers out building the hospital that Swami Rama built in North India, would literally, they burned up so much energy working from sunrise to sunset, the common laborers, they would literally drink ghee. And this is a cardiologist telling me this story. He said he couldn't believe that they were drinking ghee. And he had occasion to do some blood tests on some of these people, and he couldn't find any damage. And this surprised the cardiologist in him, and he said he ended up concluding, this is the cardiologist concluding, that the only reason these people were not just dropping over dead from all of this ghee consumption is because they were out in the hot sun 12 hours a day, and they literally were burning up everything that they ate, burning it up so quickly that it didn't have a chance to have a problem. So how many of us in our predominantly sedentary lives can burn up the ghee the way a construction laborer can out there 12 hours a day in the hot sun? I'm not trying to argue the point, but yeah, all things in moderation. There's a whole other thing with that, and we don't need to go there. But there's another level. The idea of everything in moderation has pretty well been found to be not true. And one man that we know of, a doctor named Gregor, says, well, okay, moderation means then I'm only going to have a moderate heart attack. I'm not going to have an extreme heart attack. I'm practicing moderation, and I'm going to practice moderation, and I'm going to have a moderate heart attack. Now, I have a personal way of taking sides with this thing, but I don't mean this to debate with anybody, and that's not where I'm wanting to go with the Saucha conversation. But I thought I had been living moderation, and with some of these things like oil and yogurt, which is dairy, and the ingredients inside of cow milk products are absolutely destructive to the human being. We have no reason to be taking them in. It's very, very destructive. And somehow I overlooked that for a period of decades. How did I overlook it? Because of culture, influences of other people. I recall that I was living in Pennsylvania in the institution that Swami Rama founded there to teach us things like healthy living. And in some sense, I mean this nicely, in some sense he finally sort of gave up trying to convince the American public to eat healthy. And on Sunday afternoons we had ice cream day in the dining room. And about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there'd be a big table in there with 15, maybe 20 of these half-gallon containers of ice cream. And everybody in the Institute was coming in there on Sunday afternoon just shoveling down the ice cream. And we call that moderation because we're only doing that on Sunday afternoon. Well, I'm only going to poison myself on Sunday afternoon. And the stages of this, the relevance of this that we're sort of talking about here, and I do acknowledge that there are different opinions out there about moderation and about ghee and about oil. There are many, 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 many opinions out there. But the principle in relation to Saucha is that if we are attempting to be aware of and live Saucha, purifying of body and mind, we can be more open to gradually learning more and more. And one of the shocking things to learn, and I think you'll agree, I think this is not just me, plug it into yourself and see if it applies to you. Isn't it a shock when you make the discovery on any particular point that, here it comes, I was wrong? It's kind of inconceivable, isn't it? That I was wrong about something, and I had a certain way of thinking for years, and then to discover, oops, I was wrong. I thought yogurt was healthy. I was wrong. I thought olive oil was healthy. I was wrong. And there's Rojo putting stuff into the box there. A good talk relating into saturated fats in their oils, and so she keeps me in line. I asked her last year, will you keep me informed of the latest stuff going on with food? Because she's a doctor, and this is the area, her main area of expertise as a doctor is this subject, and so she's keeping herself up to date on the latest research. So I asked her, will you keep me up to date, because I'm not going to sit there and keep an eye on all this research directly. I just know I'm not going to do that. And she said yes, she would. So she sort of coaches me on what these things say, and she'll show me, just like she did there, a talk on an internet link, and she's done it right here in this living room of the ashram. She has sat me down here and say, Swamiji, come look at this. And in fact, that's what she did. One of the first ones she did that with me was a video lecture on olive oil. Did you put that in there, Rojo?
Putting it in there right now.
She's putting it in there. And this is one of the first ones that she showed me was one on olive oil. And I'm here to tell you, it was a shock to me. There it is. I just saw it pop up. And so, old dogs, new tricks. It's like I had to sit there and look at this thing and say, guess what? I was wrong.
And I didn't even know about it until...
And she didn't even know about it until a matter of a few weeks or so before she showed it to me. And this is a woman who's a doctor, and they don't teach you this stuff in medical college at all, I've heard. And so anyway, so we're all learning. That's my point. That if there's a takeaway point, what I'm trying to say about this whole Saucha business is try as best you can to keep your mind, your attitude open to continuing to learn. How do we purify our body, and how do we purify our mind? We talk a lot in our satsangs and what we go through in what Swami Rama, as most of you know, we have right now nine satsangs a week that are here and online that are an hour long each, and we're going through the writings and the texts and teachings from Swami Rama mostly. And so this afternoon at 4 o'clock we're going to go through the Bhagavad Gita. With Leela. Leela does the reading on this, and she has this nice southern accent from Tennessee, and so we affectionately call her the preacher, because it's Sunday and we're going through a text like this, and it's Sunday afternoon. So it's Preacher Leela, and of course Leela is Sanskrit, means play, the play of Shakti. That's what you didn't know that's what Leela meant?
No.
It's a beautiful word. Krista did not know what Leela meant. Leela, the word Leela means divine play of Shakti, of divine mother, so to speak, like that. And so it's just Leela, it's just play. So she plays preacher on Sunday afternoon. But now what was I saying? We have those satsangs. But so what? Why was I saying that? Well, show up sometime. Anyway, I know why, because I was remembering that Swami Rama, as we're going through his stuff and we're going through Bhagavad Gita, there's a lot of influence there that talks about not only meditation as sit down and be quiet and be still, but also contemplation, which the instrument of contemplation is language. And so I, as a me, in doing conversation with the inner, subtler aspects of me. And what do we call it? We call it internal dialogue. So we do internal dialogue, and so we keep getting subtler and subtler and subtler with our internal dialogue, and we get better and better at it, and the contemplations become deeper, and the meditations become deeper over a considerable period of time, many months and years, and even we could say decades. It just gets better over time. And that same principle is what I'm wanting to point out here, applies to Saucha, both in terms of relationship to purifying body and purifying mind. So Saucha is not a checklist. Do this and this and this and this, and when you finish this checklist of these 10 or 20 items, you give yourself an A in the course called Saucha, and now you graduate and you go on to the next niyama. That's the rungs thing. They build upon it. If we're doing a good job with Saucha, then we can do, it helps with the next niyama, which is santosh, or contentment. If we're taking care of the temple called body and mind, then it's easier to live santosh, or contentment. And then it's easier to sit comfortably for meditation, asana. It's easier to do pranayama, to have smooth breathing. It's easier to do all of the rungs like that. And so the same thing applies with meditation practice, and the same thing applies with internal dialogue. And this is the principle that, as I thought about what to talk about this week on Saucha, this is really the key thing that I wanted to communicate with you. Internalize it. Let it become a part of your worldview. Choose your own worldview. Choose your own perspective of life and the way you want to live yoga. And then you take suggestions like I'm giving you right now, and you decide for yourself, does this sound like a good idea, and am I going to reasonably follow it, or does this sound kind of stupid, and I'm going to ignore that? And so, Nicholas, it's a long road to improve my food intake. Yeah, but Nicholas, I know the feeling. There's a long road, but here you are. There's a period of time called today, Nicholas, and what can you do today? Do some one thing. I don't know, go eat an apple.
I have a comment.
Yes, Krista.
A month or two ago, when Swami was telling me about the olive oil effects, I have not gone vegan, but I have attempted to cut out dairy, and I'm trying, and I dropped my cholesterol from in the 250s to normal levels in a period of a couple months.
Did you hear that? Krista says her cholesterol went from 250 to normal to under 200
just dairy
in a couple months. You know what my overall cholesterol is now? 101. Huh?
Yeah.
And that's normal for oil-free vegan.
And that's normal for oil-free vegan diet. And the people that know about this food stuff say that the cholesterol we need is under 150. I ended up in the hospital having cholesterol in the 130s. Shock. There was a shock. Another one of those things. Gee, I was wrong. And maybe the whole medical establishment is basically wrong. Some of these food experts are pointing out now that research has been done where the average person who is admitted to a hospital with a heart attack has a cholesterol of under 150.
Wow.
At the time they're admitted into the hospital. It's shocking. So keep going. But I don't know if you heard what Krista said. I don't know how somebody gives us some feedback on this, how well the microphone in this thing. Could you pick up, could you hear Krista's voice clearly? Somebody type in the box yes or no. And whether you could hear Krista. Because we're learning how to use this machine here. The decision to do so is as close as your next thought, Nicholas. Yeah, good. You two are talking there. Yeah. Ray knows from what he is speaking, my friends. Ray and I have known each other about 15 years, and I'm not going to go into the details of Ray's life, but he knows something about giving up and changing habits. And he's inspiring to watch. And if you want to know about changing habits, send him a private message and say, I want to know more. Can we talk? He'll talk to you about, I know him, he will talk to you gladly about changing habits. It's what he knows about, personally and professionally. And so, but anyway, so was the yes, does that mean yes you could hear Krista? Somebody say, yes, I can hear Krista. Because she's about, 10, 12 feet over there, and I don't know how well this thing picks up voices. But anyway, there's another yes. Okay, I'm getting a lot of yeses. But you might be saying, yes, how wonderful I am. No, it's not that. Now I'm going to get a bunch of no's. But anyway, so purifying of the body and the mind, the temple. And you do little things. As Krista was saying, we had conversation about oil a couple months ago. And now is that a smiley face or a frown face or a sad face? That Joe just did a little face there. And that was a wow or a what? I don't remember what that one was. But isn't it amazing? A simple change like that and the effect that it has.
Yeah.
So we can learn. And again, is there that thing again? I don't remember what that symbol is. It's a little yellow symbol. It looks a little bit like that. We should remember that normal cholesterol levels are based on the normal high-fat American diet. Very, very good point. And so if we're going to do Saucha and purify body and mind, whose standards are we going to follow? The average? Who wants to be in the middle of the bell curve of diet in our modern world? Who wants to eat the average diet? Hopefully none of us. How Not to Die cookbook. Yeah. So Rojo's
You
over.
get to see all these texts. It's annoying.
Babies, toddlers, when they're learning to eat, our toddlers will eat fresh fruits, vegetables, whole foods. Those are the choices they make until America teaches them.
You mean when you put choices in front of the little toddler,
Toddlers,
they
yeah.
will eat the fresh food, huh? Interesting.
So they learn to eat.
I still did not see anybody type in the box, yes, I can hear Krista, or no, I cannot hear
Yes,
Krista.
Leela typed in, yes, I can hear Krista.
Oh, thank you. I missed that. Thank you, Leela. Good. That's
How
good
do
to
you
know.
see that? I don't see that. I only see 4 comments.
That's all I see, too.
Okay.
So we're all learning about this.
You're not.
So how do you purify the mind? What do we do to purify the mind?
Oh wait, I have to be here before that. Here I can.
I've been left alone here.
But here it didn't have.
Go to the mob ashram, M-O-B. What is an M-O-B ashram? Go to the mobile ashram.
So here I can hear.
Go to the Nicholas. Yeah, go to the mobile ashram. That would be nice. Mobile. It's the thing they do in Holland this coming spring. Aranka was suggesting to Nicholas to come to the mobile ashram. Nicholas is, where are you?
In Argentina.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's far away from Argentina. You're remembering that Nicholas' native country is somewhere else. Nicholas is from, aren't you native from, that's the right word, Italy? Aren't you?
No, that is Carlo.
I know Carlo, but Nicholas came from somewhere. Anyway, so how do you purify the mind?
My thoughts are, and I'm limited in my knowledge, are that it can begin with a mantra.
Mantra helps.
You gave that example of if you don't give your mind something to do.
Yeah, mind can tend to eat us up. So mantra is a helpful way of purifying mind. Doing internal dialogue is a helpful way. Having good relationships with other people. The yamas, truthfulness and non-harming. These are ways to purify the mind. Uncle, when we stop ingesting products which contain animal cruelty, meat, dairy, eggs, we purify. Now it just went off the chart there. Free kicks, yeah. Thank you, Vonko. But what happens on my thing here is when a new one comes, don't fill it with rubbish. When a new one comes, it moves up and then moves off the screen, and I don't have any way to bring it back down. Oh, yes, I do. I didn't know that. See, I'm still learning. When we stop ingesting products that contain animal cruelty, meat, dairy, eggs, we purify both our body and mind. Clear conscience. Very good point, Avonka. Very good point. That was actually, for me, you remind me of something I hadn't thought about in a while. When I quit eating meat, it was about 30 years ago, something like that. And my original impetus for it was because of the cruelty to the animals. I just simply, the day came, I said, I just cannot participate in this anymore. I cannot support this treatment of animals. And I stopped eating meat immediately, one day. I think that happened to you too, Mom. What was the story? Tell them quickly the story of what happened to you.
Art school, 17-year-old.
17 years old.
Girl sitting in the canteen eating a sandwich with meat.
Eating a meat sandwich.
A girl came to me. Said,
make sure they can hear you. Don't talk too fast. Because, you know.
A girl came over, one of my classmates, and she asked me, "Do you love animals?" I said, "I do." And she asked, "Why do you eat them?" I threw my sandwich away. I never ate meat again.
Yeah. So good reminder. Yeah. That's a fun story. Don't fill it with rubbish, Joe says. Yeah. Don't fill the body with rubbish, and don't fill the mind with rubbish. There's a part of purifying the mind. What do we allow to come into our mind field? What do we allow to come in?
Which thoughts do we entertain?
Which thoughts do we entertain?
Which do we strain?
I've met many people, you know, under the sort of, I don't know what to call it, under the excuse, so to speak, of meditation that say, I don't watch the news. I don't want to know what's going on. And I'm sitting here, I do watch the news. I want to know what's going on in the world. Not because I enjoy the thing striking lately is all of these murders that are being captured on cell phones and this craziness that's going on. I don't want to be blind to it, but I want the mind to be purified so that we can be aware of what's going on. And Rojo just posted something today on her Facebook. I saw it and I liked it and I shared it too because I find it touching. There's this young man walking around now with a T-shirt that says "Free Hugs," and he's got a sign holding it in his hand, and he's out on the streets in wherever he is. I think somebody said it was Los Angeles, and he's got a whole page now that is devoted to this, and he's walking up to the police officers, and he's wearing this T-shirt that says "Free Hugs," and he's got a sign that says "Hugs," and the man is walking around hugging police officers. And
it's
I
a
think
very old movement. I don't want to squish it. But
no,
it's
but
very
I mean,
cool.
but it's an old movement, but I like it.
Yeah, and it's not.
And
My grandmother was a hug therapist.
Yeah.
And did the same thing.
And so one of the videos of this man talking is he's describing the so to speak philosophy behind what he's doing. And he says in very clear language, basically, let's not hide from the problem. You know, let's be aware of what's going on, but let's not behave in this crazy kind of way. So this young man is walking around hugging police officers. And I thought, how cool is this? And all of these kinds of things, I think, are a part of the way we live that has something to do with purifying of our own minds. We're not being an ostrich. We're not sticking our head in a hole in the ground pretending that the crazy world is not out there, but we don't have to get caught up in it, and we don't have to just be negative and bitter about how bad those bad guys are. What you read, talk, watch, music you listen to fills the mind with rubbish. Yes. Yes, rubbish must be an Australian usage language, huh? Is that that? I don't often use the word rubbish. I'll have to start using it more. It's a good word, isn't it? So, okay, well, I didn't intend. We were going to be together and do these conversations for something like a half an hour, and we're almost an hour, but you're still hanging in there. So I guess we're having a nice time. Begin by becoming the observer of the mind, Ray says. I like the idea of begin by becoming an observer of the mind, but in the experience that I have had and that I have seen others have, very, 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 very few people can actually begin by observing the mind. That's not easy to do, as I know you to do, as I know you know. But maybe that means observing that the fact that the mind is crazy and is running around doing all sorts of silly stuff. But the effort to be an observer of everything, you know, observer, I am walking down the street, I'm talking, I'm listening, observe everything. And it's not just the mind. I was having a walk, you'll like this, Ray. I was walking one day with Swami Rama, being holy and sacred. We were walking along quietly along the river Ganges in the foothills of the Himalayas near the ashram. And all of a sudden 2 words came out of his mouth. We were not having a back and forth conversation. We were just quietly walking. And these 2 words came out of his mouth. And the experience to me was a little bit like they came out and they sort of fell at my feet like a big bag of rocks or something. And they were witness everything. Simply witness everything. He said, witness everything. I said, huh? Like, huh? And he repeated, witness everything. And I said, huh? And we walked silently a little, and I said, Baba, I don't think I know how to do that. Because I was trying to take it in what he was telling me to do, and I said, I don't think I know how to do that. And he said back to me, it will come. And then that one, I had to wrestle with that one for quite a period of time until I finally figured out the reason I think that he said it will come is because he recognized in me that he had gotten to me, that I literally heard what he said, and it was shocking to me, and that and he knew that I would work on it and try to figure out how do I go about doing that. And I think basically did, but it's great wisdom. By becoming an observer of the mind. So let me try it like this, with the caveat that just acknowledges it's a thing to do, but it's not easy. Hi, Palma. Nice to see you show up. So anyway, I should probably turn this off, and thank you all for coming together and playing. And we will do this again next week, and I think I already picked something for us to talk about, so if you come back you can... the Karma Shaya. I want to talk about Karma Shaya. If you're curious about that, you can find it in the Yoga Sutras. And the Karma Shaya is basically the field, the deep, deep, latent, unconscious field of samskaras. So we'll talk about the Karma Shaya. Okay? Thank you all for coming together and playing. And Palma, it's okay to get in your car and come visit sometime. And come sit in on these on Sunday morning if you want, anytime. And there's a little, I recognize this time it was a Joe face that popped up, and then a little heart came bubbling by. So, thank you all for coming together and playing. There's I think that was a Roseanne that popped up there. What shows on the screen, a little bitty, itty-bitty bubble shows up, and then it turns into a thumbs up or a heart. And if I who is that? Is that Rojo? Are those little Rojos? Those are little Rojos popping up over there. With the orange-looking shirt? I guess I didn't remember what you had on your identity there. There's a Volca. I recognize a Volca because of that big body of rich colored hair, and I recognize Joe when he comes up because his face so fills the frame there. And anyway, hi Janet Hardy, tuned in late but enjoyed. Thanks for visiting and playing. Dewey, Raj. And we're going to eat some of the doses from your dosa disciple. I'm looking somebody in here is looking forward to eating dosas. Raj figured out how to make dosas without oil. Raj is of course from India, and usually they use, I don't know, ghee or oil to cook dosas, and they figured out that you can do it without oil. And so we've been getting the special treat of homemade dosas here in the ashram. Raj came a few times and brought it and made dosas, and then he has taught Matri how to do it. And so she's doing solo dosas today, and we're going to get to eat some of them. So again, thank you all for playing. It was Mom. Yes, it was Raj's mother who tested and knew how to do that. Always comes down to Mom, doesn't it? So it's funny, once we get going, I'm enjoying being with you, and some part of me doesn't want to stop, but we need to stop. We'll do it. The attachment, yeah. But is it attachment or love or just friendship?
All.
Or all of the above. So, any parting comments, words, final words of wisdom? Ma, Krista, Rojo, anybody? Love, Aranka, love.
Love.
Big L, big O, big V, big E, love. Thanks for showing up, Ray. Yes, see you then. Nice to see you. Enjoy the doses. We will enjoy the doses. We will remember the dosa guru. She was already this morning remembering the dosa, her dosa guru. So, thanks for playing, Ivanka. Thank you. And 2 little hearts showed up there. That's sweet. Thank you. Alrighty, so I'm gonna push this button. It's hard to push the button. Right down the bottom right corner, there's a little finish button. It used to be red, but a few days ago it turned into white, so now it's harder to see. But it doesn't jump off the screen at you with red. And so I noticed that, and bye-bye, little hearts, little pink hearts from Palma. Come visit sometime, Palma. And so, all right, I'm going to push the button, but only after I remind you of the ultimate high, the ultimate truth, Om Tat Sat, Om, that alone, or as I recently came up with, Om, that's where all the action is. It's the modern version of Om Tat Sat. Om, that's the happening thing. Or that one wasn't very good, huh?
It's dope.
It's what?
Dope.
It's dope? Om is dope?
It's a new phrase.
It is? Om is dope? Somebody's going to have to explain that to me.
Dope is like cool.
Dope means cool. Dope used to mean drugs.
Yeah, that's why. But then it went to yo, that's dope. Really
Yeah, yo, that's cool. Yeah.
That's cool is dope.
Yo,
Dope's
here it
dope.
is, officially
But
from
it's a little
Matri.
Om.
Yo, Om is dope. There it is. Used to mean Om Tat Sat, as in the Bhagavad Gita. But now, there's no place like Om, says Janet. There's no place like Om. Om, that's dope. Om, that's dope. Doesn't feel right. It just doesn't have the same Om.
Is awesome.
Gurvinder is here.
Amazing.
You're late, Gurvinder. You're an hour late. You've missed the whole thing, and I'm about to push the finish button, and now you're going to have to sit there and watch the whole thing recorded. But that's okay. It's nice to see you pop in there. And we were just concluding with Om. That is dope. It just doesn't feel right.
No.
Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Bye-bye, all. Have a wonderful meditation. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening or morning or wherever it is. We're kind of spread out all over the world here. And so, thank you for playing. Om Tat Sat.